Everybody, David here, back with another live stream. So it has been a busy day today, as all of you guys know. We are in a situation now where we have executive orders that have been signed. So we are going to discuss that, and we're going to take a look at the video and talk a little bit about it. Talk a lot about it, actually. Really disappointed in the way this is all played out so far. Disappointed in the fact that we had a stalemate, disappointed in the fact that the president felt the need to go forward with executive orders. And I'll explain to you guys the reason why I think it's a real bad decision, because now it's going to hang things up. It might hang things up in the court. And that will mean that not only will people not get stimulus checks and things like that, but the people might not get the enhanced unemployment and stuff in a timely manner, which if we would have followed the regular procedure of going through Congress, it could have happened a lot faster. So we'll talk about it. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of time to come in. Please, as you guys come in, please hit that like button. That really helps out with the YouTube algorithm. And we want to get as many people in here as possible today, because this is definitely big news. Yeah, and I don't even think at this point I'll talk a little bit more about it in a minute. Let's do some housekeeping issues. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if you can see me, if there are any issues like that. We're also going to do right after we watch the video, we'll do a color change in the background there. So just let me know what color you like, and we'll go ahead and make that happen as far as the background. New logo. See the new logo up in the corner there? Let me know what you guys think about the logo. Let me know if you like it. Yeah, I didn't do it myself. I went through Fiverr, but it took a while. It probably took about a week and a half, just going back and forth to get this the way that I wanted it. So I know I titled this "Good News, Bad News." I guess you could say the good news is they're moving forward with something. At least the president is, but most of the news today is bad. Unfortunately, it is. Now, I'm still going to be doing daily videos. Okay, I'm still going to be keeping you guys up to date, because there's a lot that's going to have to happen, because this is not going to be one of those things that's just an overnight, oh, he made the executive orders, so on Monday people are going to start receiving their enhanced unemployment and all this stuff. It's not going to happen like that. It's going to be challenged. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. I want to watch the video first, and what I was trying to decide how I'm going to handle this as far as when we watch the video. I think I am just going to kind of come in and talk about each point as he talks about them, just because it'll be fresh in my mind, and we'll just go forward that way. This will definitely be challenged. Like I said, this is not one of those things that will just that will just be allowed to happen. And I'll explain to you the reasons why. Obviously, we're in a situation where people need money. I get it. I understand that. But we also need to think about the future. We need to think about the precedent this might be setting in a situation of a future president that might want to do the same thing near an election. So it's very important that this is by the book. And if it's not, then it needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed now. So we'll have to see where they go. And yeah, not a good day. I've talked to a couple of people already, just offline, and very upset people. And let me know how you guys feel about things. Let me know if you're upset about this, if you're happy about it, you think Trump did the right thing, you think Trump did the wrong thing. Let me know in the chat. We'll get through the chat. And then after, so what we'll do is let me line it all up for you guys, and then we'll get started. So we're going to watch the video first. I'm going to cut in, let you know how I feel about certain things that he says. And then we'll go to I'll let you know my opinion as far as after we watch the video, my opinion of the whole thing. And then after that, then we will go into the chat, and we'll do some Q&A, and we'll talk about what's on the table. Just to remind you guys, I did a video yesterday where I talked about the dependent pay. A lot of people are receiving their $500 per dependent pay. So make sure you're checking your direct deposits to make sure to see if you've received that $500. So that's going out. Now the people who qualify for this are non-filers. So non-filers from the CARES Act, a lot of those people received stimulus checks of $1,200, but they didn't get the additional $500 per dependent. There was a time where the IRS was asking you to jump on the portal and put in your information per dependent, because if you don't file your taxes, you're not adding your dependents every year. So they had no way of knowing that you had dependents. And so the IRS wanted you to get on their web portal. They gave you a few days to do it. You needed to put that information in, showing your dependents. Well, that information didn't get translated over to their system, and it wasn't sent out. So there were a lot of people who didn't receive that additional $500 per dependent. And so now they're coming out. Okay, and I've talked to several people. There was just someone in our Discord earlier today that said that they received their $500. I had several people prior to that tell me that they received their $500 as well. So it does look like it's going out. So that's a good thing. The IRS commissioner did say, and this was back in July, he said by the end of July, they will start sending out these checks, and it looks like they are coming. So make sure you're on the lookout for those. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started now. One thing I'm asking you guys to do, hit the like button. We have like 1,300 people in the room, so please hit the like button so we can bring more people into the discussion. And I kind of want to get as many people in as possible before I start the video, so I'll wait a couple of minutes and then we'll get started. But if you could do that for me, if you hit the like button, it really helps out promoting it out to more people. So let me know. Like I said, let me know what you think about the logo. Let's see if can I make that bigger? I think I can. There you go. That's the logo. That's the new logo. I will be doing mugs with this logo, shirts with this logo. Yes, I'm going to be doing merchandise with the logo. And like I said, I will continue to do videos. I actually enjoy doing this. So I'm going to continue to do videos kind of on this topic, well, we'll talk about the stimulus checks later, but we're still going to follow this story, and then I'm going to move into following more stories, especially when it comes to election time. I think there are a lot of people who their eyes have been open to how politicians handle business, and a lot of people are upset about that. And so I do want to follow this through. So not only are we going to continue talking about the stimulus package, because ultimately I think there's still going to have to be another stimulus package at some point. There are a lot of things that are not being addressed in this executive order. So we'll continue to follow that, but I also want to continue to follow some of the politicians who were adamantly against another stimulus package, didn't want stimulus checks, things like that. These people we need to expose them, because it's not right in a situation like this. If this is not the situation where you're thinking, I mean, as a politician, if you're not looking at your constituents and saying, yes, you know what, they need help and I want to be there for them at this time, then you never will. There never will be a time where you want to help out people in need that are in your districts or in your state, because this virus has captivated all of us, right? It's brought us all into this whole situation, and I don't care if you're rich, poor, I don't care what your status is, we're all suffering from this, both financially and emotionally. We're sitting in the house, we have these stay-at-home orders, we have to wear masks everywhere, just social interaction has changed. I mean, when I go to the supermarket now, it's kind of like, I'm not there to socialize. I'm there to just get in, and the way my supermarket's set up is they have these lines. I don't know if you guys have this, or not lines, but they have these one way. You don't have to abide by it. Like, you don't have the grocery store police in there telling you you're going the wrong way, but they have it kind of like a maze. So you can walk in one way, and then you kind of go around this maze through all the aisles. And so when you go in there, it's kind of like you're just strictly business. You're in there, you're getting what you need, and then you're getting out. There's no there's no socializing, saying hello to people. I just don't feel it anymore. Like, everyone is kind of in their own little space, and they don't want, obviously we don't want to get close to each other. It's just a whole different environment. So anyway, all right, we're going to go ahead and get started. and we're going to watch the press conference. Now, I'm starting from the point where he starts to talk about the executive orders. Okay, so he talked a little bit before. He pretty much badmouthed the Democrats and said that I don't even get into all that. I don't want to. I'm trying not to make this about politics. I'm trying to look at just this is it. This is the president saying that he wants these things. So I'm trying to stay away from that. But obviously, we have to. Trump makes it about politics. So if he's making it about politics, then yeah, we do have to kind of discuss some of the things, the differences between both sides and what they want. So let's go ahead and play the video. I will be cutting in and letting you guys know certain things, how I feel about certain things. And so we'll just kind of play it like that. So we'll take each different. He has four different executive orders, or four different parts to the executive order. So we'll address those. All right, let's get started.
First one is I'm providing a payroll tax holiday to Americans earning less than $100,000 per year. In a few moments, I will sign a directive instructing the Treasury Department to allow employers to defer payment of the employee portion of certain payroll taxes from September 1st. And we're actually going to be making that. We just got the word. We're just getting some word from a lot of people. We didn't think we'd have to do this because we thought the Democrats would be reasonable, but they've been not only unreasonable, they've been ridiculous. So we're going to make that August 1st, most likely. It'll be August 1st. We'll let you know the exact date, but we're looking like August 1st. So it'll be August 1st through the end of 2020. This will mean bigger paychecks for working families as we race to produce a vaccine and eradicate the China virus once and for all. And we're doing very good with the numbers. You see it's going down in Arizona very, very substantially and rapidly, going down in California, going down in Texas, going down in Florida. Other areas are propping up a little bit, but we're watching them very closely. We understand the disease, and we're watching them very closely, especially our senior citizens and our senior citizens' residences. If I'm victorious on November 3rd, I plan to forgive these taxes and make permanent cuts to the payroll tax. I'm going to make them all permanent. Now, Joe Biden and the Democrats may not want that. They don't want that because they're adding $3 trillion in taxes. So they'll have the option of raising everybody's taxes and taking this away. But if I win, I may extend and terminate. In other words, I'll extend it beyond the end of the year and terminate the tax. And so we'll see what happens. Biden probably won't be doing that. You'll have to ask him. I don't think he knows what he's doing.
All right, so I gotta cut in there. That's a good point to cut in. So payroll tax deferral. So that's what he wants to do. Now, understand Trump wanted to do this payroll tax cut all along. Okay, so you have Republicans that weren't for it. You have Democrats that weren't for it. And that's the reason why it's not in the HEALS Act, because of that. They didn't want it. So the president drew a red line back in June, said that this has to be in the next stimulus package, or I'm not signing it. And then he backed away from that. He backed away and said, well, I would consider not signing it if it wasn't in the bill. Sure enough, it didn't show up in the bill, and he was still okay with it. Like he didn't mention anything else about it. But now, yeah, it looks like this is what he wants. Okay, so for people making less than $100,000, that is the criteria. They will qualify for this payroll tax deferral. He didn't give a percentage, so we don't know exactly. Is it going to be the 6.5%, 7%? What is it going to be? We don't know. So we'll have to see. Like something has to. They're going to bring out they're going to put it on paper. Once they put it on paper, then we'll know exactly what he's asking for in this executive order. But as of right now, we don't know. We just know what he's saying, right? And that can all change. So he could be saying one thing, and then you look at it and you're like, wait a minute, it's only 2%. Okay. So that's we're going to have to find out about that. We don't know if it's married or single, so we don't know if that 100,000 or less is for a married couple, or if it's a married couple, is it 200,000? We don't know that information either, so we'll have to figure that out. Let's see, and then the real problem and the reason why Democrats really didn't like it, and the reason why some of the Republicans didn't like it, is because this money has to come from somewhere, and it's coming from Social Security and Medicare. And so now you're going to divert that money that you would be putting into Social Security and Medicare. You're going to be taking that money and you're going to be putting it into this payroll tax deferral. And so, I mean, you're hurting people. You're hurting people who are on Social Security. I just, I got, and I want to do a video on this. I haven't done it yet, and I got the gentleman's permission. So he wrote me a letter just explaining his hardship and how he's on Social Security, he's on fixed income, and he's in a situation right now where they're not going to receive, I won't call it a raise, but like they're not getting the what is it called? I don't know. We'll just say a raise. They're not getting the extra, like an extra bump in Social Security this year. And so he's really frustrated about that. And now we're looking at a situation where now we have a payroll tax deferral, which means that there's going to be less money for Social Security. So they might not receive any advancements in the or not advancements, but any, more percentage increases in the next few years because they're going to be short money. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they do with this and how they go about it. We don't know any of this information yet. We don't know how they're planning on doing this stuff. Like President Trump is out there saying this stuff and he's signing these executive orders, but we've seen in the past where he's signed executive orders and they get caught up in the courts because they're just not sound. Like a lot of thought hasn't gone into them. So once he signs them, well, now we have to address it, and then it gets caught up in the courts because it's not, it's not constitutional. So we'll like I said, we'll have to see where it goes. What else did I have on here? Let's see. Ultimately, he's going to need Congress. He's going to need Congress because Congress carries the purse. They have the money. And so the president doesn't have the money. He can only divert money from one place to the other, but he doesn't have the funding. He can't approve new money. So that's going to be a huge problem. One other thing too that I wanted to mention, and you heard him talk about the fact that if he gets reelected, then he's talking about making it permanent and forgiving forgiving the taxes and making it permanent. That is something that really will be challenged because you have to understand this is an election year. We are a few months away from an election, and you have a president doing an executive order and saying, hey, if you vote for me, then I'm going to go ahead and take care of these taxes. So he's pretty much holding you hostage because now you're in a situation where you receive the money. You start receiving the money now, and I think he said August 1st. I think it's either August 1st or September 1st. We're not sure yet. Like I said, we'll have to see what's on paper. But now you're in a situation where you've taken the money. Let's say you're a person just like me. I work every day. Now I'm starting to receive this deferral. So I started receiving extra money. And then it gets close to election time, and if he's not reelected, and this is the way he's talking, if I don't get reelected, well, then you guys are probably going to have to pay that money back. Joe Biden's going to make you pay the money back. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to forgive it, and I'm going to make it permanent. And so he's holding you hostage because if you vote for the other guy, then you might have thousands of dollars that you have to pay back. So, like I said, this is going to be challenged for sure. This is one of those deals where, you have a president that's openly saying, hey, I'm going to give you this payroll tax cut, and after the election, I'm going to forgive it if you vote for me. Now, if you don't vote for me, who knows what's going to happen. So really, this is unheard of. Like, I've never seen anything like this before. I don't think we'll have to see where it goes. But this is a problem because this holds it up. So the enhanced unemployment is now being held up because it's going to be challenged just because of the things that the president's saying. If he didn't go that far and maybe tried to work and do a negotiation with the Democrats and not go through the executive order, then we could probably see money a lot faster. But in this situation, it's not going to happen because of the things that he's saying. He's setting precedent. You have to understand, you're allowing a president to set precedent for other presidents. So you might like Trump. You might have voted for Trump. You might think he's a good person and he's there for the people and all this. and you might be happy about this whole thing. But what you have to think about is, think if he gets reelected now, think 4 years down the road. Another president comes in. You might not like that president, and they can do the same thing. You know why? Because he set the precedent, and no one challenged him on it. So if no one challenges him on it, that next president comes in, and it might be something that you're totally against, and he's going to go ahead and push it through and say, oh, executive order, here we go. And then Congress, does Congress have a job to do anymore? If the president, if they start negotiating, it doesn't work out, and the president just steps over him and just says, oh, I'm going to do executive order here, executive order there, executive order here. That's where we'll be. We'll have a Congress that just, I mean, you really think they're going on recess now, they'll be on permanent recess because there's no reason to legislate if you have a president that's just going to step in and, you know, divert. Like I say, he's going to have to divert money. And that's why you have that power with legislators, that they have the money. That's why they have the money, because ultimately they have the say when it comes to legislation. At least they should have the say. So, all right, let's go ahead and move forward. I'm getting caught up on one topic. Let's move forward.
Second, I'm signing an executive order directing the Department of Housing and Urban Development, HHS, and CDC to make sure renters and homeowners can stay in their homes. So I'm protecting people from eviction. Yet you've been hearing a lot about eviction, and the Democrats don't want to do anything having to do with protecting people from eviction. I said, let's do that separately. That could be a totally separate thing from passing along money so people can live. And they didn't even want to protect people from eviction, so they would get evicted.
All right, so we need to cut in here. So in the HEROES Act, there is money for evictions, okay? In the HEALS Act, there's no money for evictions. So the HEALS Act didn't have anything as far as the eviction moratorium. We all knew these deadlines were going to happen, and they let it pass. The HEALS Act, so the Republican bill, they let it pass and didn't have any money for it. And so I guess the White House didn't realize it, found out a little bit later, and then they were upset and said, oh, we need to have some type of eviction moratorium, or I don't even know if you can call this eviction moratorium, but they needed to have something. And so they started fighting for the whole eviction, the eviction moratorium. And it was in the HEROES Act. So the fact that the president's saying, no, well, you know, the Democrats didn't want to do anything about evictions. No, they have funding. They actually have funding for it, whereas the HEALS Act didn't have any funding for it. The HEALS Act was, we'll say the White House took a major role in creating the HEALS Act. So they missed that whole eviction thing. All right, let's go ahead and continue.
It's not their fault that this virus came into our country. It's China's fault, and came into the world. By the way, a lot of the people, a lot of the states that were doing the best are having some problems. A lot of the states that we weren't thinking were doing the best are doing very well. You look at some of the countries involved, some of the countries that were really standing out as examples are now exploding. But they'll get it down. They understand it. We're dealing with them. We're dealing with a lot of countries. We're providing thousands and thousands of ventilators all over the world right now. We make a lot of ventilators. We've started off with very little, and we're making a lot. And we have thousands in our stockpile, but we're making thousands a month. And we're providing many of them, thousands and thousands, to other countries that would never be able to get them. The Department of Housing and Urban Development will also provide financial assistance to struggling renters and homeowners, and work with landlords and lenders to keep Americans safely in their homes. So we don't want people being evicted, and the bill, the act that I'm signing, will solve that problem largely, hopefully completely. The third action.
All right, so the assistance. So this sounds good. We'll have to see what it looks like on paper, but they're going to provide some assistance for people who are in a situation where they could be evicted. Plus, I'm hoping that the assistance will address the fact that if there is a moratorium, or they've been on a moratorium for the last 3-4 months, they haven't been paying their rent, so now they owe $3,000 or $4,000, depending on how much your rent is. I say their rent is $1,000, they owe $3,000 or $4,000 at the end of the moratorium. Will there be some type of assistance that they can get in order to pay that lump sum, $3,000-4,000, and then allow them to move forward with their regular scheduled rent? So we'll have to see where that goes, but he did add that in there. So let's go ahead and continue.
I'm taking today will also provide additional support for Americans who are unemployed due to the China virus. Under the CARES Act, I proudly signed expanded unemployment benefits into law. Congressional Democrats have stonewalled our efforts to extend this relief. They even opposed measures that would give bonuses to workers returning to the job. They were totally opposed to that. For this reason, I'm taking action to provide an additional or an extra $400 per week in expanded benefits. $400, okay? So that's
I like how he says $400. All right, let's get back.
generous, but we want to take care of our people. Again, it wasn't their fault, it was China's fault. States will be asked to cover 25% of the cost using existing funding, such as the tens of billions of dollars available to them through the Coronavirus Relief Fund. Under this plan, states will be able to offer greater benefits if they so choose, and the federal government will cover 75% of the cost. So we're all set up. It's $400 per week, and we're doing that without the Democrats. We should have been able to do it very easily with them, but they want all of these additional things that have nothing to do with helping people.
All right, so just to talk a little bit about what he's saying here. So enhanced unemployment, now $400. Now it will be split up. It will be 75% the federal government will pay, so $300. And then that additional $100 will have to be paid by the states. Now understand there's no extra state and local funding. And we know states have already indicated that they are out of money right now, or they can't spend a lot of the money that they have. So there's no talk about allowing them to have more flexibility with the money that was allocated in the CARES Act. So that's something that's going to have to come down. I would think that would be at least a bill. If it's a standalone bill, it's a standalone bill, but it's going to have to be addressed because they definitely need to be able to spend some of this money that's just sitting there and they're not allowed to spend. So 75% federal government, 25% the state, and he didn't give a timeline. So there's a lot that he didn't say. Okay, he just pretty much put the stuff out there. It was just like what he said yesterday. He said the same things that he said yesterday. He added a little bit to it, and then just today he's just saying, yeah, this is the executive order. But it doesn't look like much thought went into the delivery and adding more details because he didn't add a lot. So we don't know when the start date is. We don't know when the end date is. So that's definitely something that we'll have to find out in the future. Unfortunately, it's not one of those things where he's where he's giving us the good information that we need to make us feel a little more secure. And this is another one of those situations where how and where are they pulling this money from? We're gonna have to find out. When it's on paper, we'll find out exactly how they want to divert money, and that might cause problems as far as that might be challenged as well. So that means that people on enhanced unemployment might be waiting a little longer to get their checks. Like I said, this would have happened a lot faster if the negotiations took place, and they continued to take place, and we had people like the president and like Mitch McConnell coming in the room and having that discussion. But going this route is going to probably take longer than the traditional route. All right, let's go ahead and continue.
Fourth, I'm signing a directive providing relief to student loan borrowers. Earlier this year, we slashed student loan interest rates to zero. I don't know if people know that because the press doesn't ever report it, but maybe they're watching now. The press doesn't report a lot of good things that are good for the people and good for the country. Earlier this year, we slashed student loans, interest rates to 0% and suspended student loan payments, and Congress extended that policy through September 30th. Today, I'm extending this policy through the end of the year, and we'll extend it further than that, most likely right after December 1st. So we look like we're going to be extending that. They're paying zero interest. And again, not their fault that their colleges are closed down, and not their fault that they're unable to get what they bargained for. Through these four actions, my administration will provide immediate and vital relief to Americans struggling in this difficult time. And the beautiful thing about this difficult time is we're now coming back and setting records. We'll also ensure that our economic comeback continues full speed ahead, and with the...
All right, I want to stop here because I don't want to forget this point. So the student loan for forbearance, so they want to continue that. So it'll continue to the end of the year, then reevaluate it and maybe continue it past that. So that's good for people who have student loans. I fortunately just paid off my student loans, but there are a lot of people who are in student loan debt, so that will definitely help them out. I mean, you could be paying $200, $300 a month in student loans. Now you have the opportunity to not have to pay it right now, so you can use that money for other things. So I do think that's a good thing. But like I said, we're going to have to figure out how they roll that out. It really wouldn't cost any money in my mind, like thinking about it. You're just pushing it off. So that's something. And these are federal student loans. So it's not all loans, not all student loans. So it has to be federally backed and has to be certain loans. Okay. Or actually, no, we won't get to the last thing because he's going to talk about that. I'll show that in the video. But I did want to talk, let's see, I wanted to talk about I just lost it. Let me back up one, and then I'll remember it here.
That they're unable to get what they bargained for. Through these 4 actions, my administration will provide immediate and vital relief to Americans struggling in this difficult time. And the beautiful thing about this difficult time is we're now coming back and setting records.
All right, so that's what I want to talk about, the setting records. This is one of those situations where he's talking about setting records, but think of it like this, and I think it was, I can't remember who said this, but it makes a lot of sense, right? Let's say you have $10 in your bank account, and you lose 9 of those dollars, right? And so now you only have $1 in your bank account. And then the next month you earn $1. So now you've doubled your profits, right? Or you've doubled your money. And so now you're setting a record. This is the first time you've ever doubled your money. So now you're setting records. And then let's say the next month you have $4 in your account. And so now you've doubled your money again. And so we have to look at the history where we started from. If you started from $10 and now you're down to $1, and then now you have $2 a month later, you're still in the hole. You're still bad. You're still bad off. But when you have a president, you have to listen to what they say. Like when you have a president saying that, yes, we're setting records. We're setting records because we dropped so far down. That's why we're setting records. It's not because everything is great and we're moving up. So it's just one of those things that I like to address that when I see it, because it makes people feel like, oh, this is great. Like everything is getting back to normal, when the reality is no. We have to get out of the hole first, and then we'll be getting things back to normal. All right, let's go ahead and continue.
We'll also ensure that our economic comeback continues full speed ahead, and with the $400 and all of the other measures that we're talking about, and we'll be signing in a little while, that will happen. We're further looking at additional tax cuts, including income tax relief, income tax cuts, and capital gains tax cuts. So we're going to be looking at that, capital gains for the purpose of creating jobs, and income tax is self-explanatory, and it'll be income tax for middle income and lower income people, but middle income people, because they pay a lot of income tax, and you do have tax inequality. I'm saying that as a Republican, and you do have tax inequality. So we're going to be...
All right, so that kind of rounds it out. Then he starts talking about some other stuff, but those are the executive orders that he wants to put in place, or that he's actually put in place. He's actually signed for it, so we'll have to see where that goes. But then the last part, yeah, he talked about the income tax and capital gains tax relief. So he wants, and that's not an executive order or anything. He wants to move forward with that, but we'll have to see when he comes up with something when it comes to that. All right. So what didn't he talk about? He didn't talk about stimulus checks, obviously, and that's the big one, right? People are all like, well, hey, what about the stimulus checks? He didn't talk about that. And he did say that we were getting stimulus checks, but now that's not a part of this. And part of the reason why, the big reason why, is he can't do it. He can't just pull money, or if he's pulling money it's going to be hard to pull $300 billion. It's going to be hard enough to pull the money that he's pulling for enhanced unemployment. I don't know exactly, like I said, I don't know exactly where it's going to come from. Hurricane relief, I heard a variety of different places where it could come from, but I don't think people are going to really be happy with pulling money from emergency funds in order to do this when you can do it the right way, when you can go through the legislative process. So that's the first thing. Stimulus checks not in there. Hazard pay, essential worker pay, didn't mention any of that. And so that's very unfortunate. The state and local government funding, I mean, you're asking the states to do more now with enhanced unemployment, so they're going to be paying 25%. And he was questioned about this in the press at the end of the press conference. You know, the reporters were asking questions, and he said, "Well, if the states don't want to pay, hey, that's on them, right? Blame the states," is basically what he's saying. I think that's a huge problem for him to say that, because he's the president. He's the president of the United States. He's the president of everyone in the state, in all of the country. So he should be trying to help everyone, everywhere, no matter if it's a blue state, red state. He should be trying to help everyone. And so there shouldn't be just like, oh, well, if they don't want to pay, that's on them. Too bad, you live in the wrong state. That for me, that's not a person that wants to support the people. That's a person that wants to support certain people in certain states and doesn't care about people in other states. Testing and tracing. Now, this is a big one, right? No funding for testing and tracing. And we're in this situation because of the virus. And so that should be at the forefront. That should be at the forefront of everything. We should be working on the testing and tracing so kids can go back to school, so we can go back to work, and we can at least stabilize the virus and be able to find out exactly where it's coming from and shut it down. Just like you see in some of the baseball and stuff like that, where they are once they find out that a team has it, or a few people on the team have it, they shut everything down and it doesn't spread as fast. And so it's just interesting to me that that's not in there, as far as, and then more funding for PPP and stuff like that should be a part of this executive order. If it's really an emergency, that stuff should be in there, because that's what we're facing right now. We're facing a virus. That's if we could control the virus, everything else would fall into place a lot faster. So, yeah, my whole take on it, I think it's going to get tied up in court, and I think it's going to be unfortunate for a lot of people, because they might be thinking, if you're on unemployment right now and you're thinking, oh, I'll be able to get that extra $400, that might get tied up for a little bit. And if it does, then what are you going to do? You're going to have an emergency bill that's going to go through in order to allow them that gap. I don't know. Like, I really don't know. And another thing that's really bad about this whole situation is stimulus checks are probably not going to happen now, because because Congress has no pressure anymore. The president has stepped in when it came to the timeline. So we have the eviction moratorium, he addressed that. Enhanced unemployment, he addressed that. Those are the two things. That's why the Democrats didn't want to go with the piecemeal. They didn't want to go with the piecemeal bill, because they knew that they were going to focus on those two things and then push off the other stuff down the road. Push the stimulus checks down the road. Push enhanced, or the essential hazard pay or essential worker pay. Push that down the road. So they knew that was going to happen. That's why they were trying to get it all in one. And so now that it happened, like he put it out there, not only does it hurt that situation, because look at it this way: if you went through the normal legislative process, and let's say you did do a piecemeal, you went through the normal process, you're going to have that enhanced unemployment and the eviction moratorium immediately. People would start receiving, the next week they would start receiving their money. But now, if this gets tied up in the courts, it could be a long time before they receive anything. So we'll see where it goes. But yeah, this is one of those curveballs that I was like, what? Executive order? He can't do that. Sure enough, he did it. I was hoping that he was bluffing, but obviously he's not bluffing. and we'll have to continue following the story. That's all we can do at this point, and there's going to be a lot more coming. So you want to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button. We're at what, 1,200 likes? Thank you guys all very much for that. If you have not hit the like button, please do that. It will help out. It will promote it out to more people. We have about 3,200 people in the room. So if you could do that, I really appreciate that. But yeah, we're in a situation right now where, I mean, I don't know where we're going to go from here as far as stimulus checks. I know that the president has mentioned, and this is the sad part about this whole situation. President says he wants $1,200 stimulus check. The Democrats say they want a $1,200 stimulus check. The Republicans, or at least the majority of the Republicans, say they're okay with the $1,200 stimulus check. Do we get a $1,200 stimulus check? No. Why? Because the executive order is put in place. So we'll have to see where that goes. As far as like, they have no reason to put. They're going to go on recess now because there's nothing time sensitive. Stimulus checks have never been time sensitive in their mind. There's no deadline on the stimulus check. They can think, oh, you know what, we can just push it down a couple months, and we're going to wait and see how the executive order, this is going to be the next talk, right? We're going to wait and see how the executive orders work out, and we'll see if there's even a need for stimulus checks. Now, they're telling you right now there's a need for stimulus checks, but now since these executive orders have come out, we're going to wait and see. That's probably going to be the talking point from here on out. Now, the president, he's going to upset a lot of people. And it's not just Democrats. He's going to upset a lot of Republicans because you had the 15 to 20 Republican senators that didn't want a stimulus package at all. You had some Republican senators that didn't want the payroll tax cut. And now he's going ahead and going forward with the payroll tax cut. So you're going to have a lot of politicians that are going to be upset with this executive order. And so they're probably, they might quietly be on board for having this, reviewed, having the Supreme Court step in. And so now we're seeing all three branches of government. So we have the executive branch, that's the president, putting out this executive order. We have the legislative branch, who should be actually passing the bills through. And then you have the judicial branch. So I can't even say judicial. The judicial branch is going to step up. The Supreme Court could step in and say, hey, look, this is not constitutional. You can't do this, especially by it being this close to an election and by you talking. Like he messes things up for himself when he says, after the election, I'm going to go ahead and forgive this. And, when he's talking about God, I just lost my train of thought. Let me look at my notes again. When he's talking about the payroll tax, he's talking about, I'm gonna forgive it and then make it permanent. So after my election, when he says stuff like that, that's not a good thing. And when you say that, now that just gives these attorneys ammo to go to the Supreme Court and argue and say, look, this president is trying to buy an election by using executive orders. And just remember too, when it comes, and I know I'm talking a lot about Trump today, and I caught a lot of flack for that the last video. A lot of people, not a lot, but some people were upset that I'm talking about Trump, and it realistically, it's not about Trump per se. Like, I don't care who you voted for, if you like Trump or you don't like Trump, but you do have to look at his actions. You have to look at what's going on, because this affects you. If you're unemployed right now, this affects you. It affects anyone. I don't care if you're unemployed on a fixed income, working 9 to 5, what have you. It affects all of us. And so that's why I'm talking about these things, and I'm breaking it down, because there are a lot of different things that are in here that are just not, they're just not right. And the crazy part about it is, if you watch my video from yesterday, and I'll post a link up here so you guys can check it out. Actually, that's my little logo. It'll be right up there. So I'll post a link to that, but watch the clip of Trump when he was running for president in 2016. And he talks about the executive order and how he's not for an executive order, and he doesn't think that that's an appropriate way to legislate. But what does he do with the biggest package that we could, I mean, the biggest situation that we're in, the biggest crisis that we're in, we're going through, we're trying to get these bills passed. What does he do? He does an executive order. So he does the exact opposite of what he was talking about, saying that it's just not appropriate. He said, President Reagan and God, I can't remember the Speaker of the House's name, but anyway, he was talking about how they didn't get along, but they came together and they got legislation through. So it's one of those deals where, I mean, if you're gonna say that, and if that's gonna be your push as far as executive orders, he always criticized Obama for doing executive orders, and then when you come into office, you just start doing them, and then in a situation like this, you do an executive order. It's not a good look. It just isn't. And like I said, we'll see where it goes. I want to know what you guys think. So in the comments section, let me know. Also in the chat, we're going to go ahead and go over the chat right now and check it out. But yeah, this is an amazing time. I'll tell you that. Now we have some super chats. I saw super chats going through, so I'm going to go ahead and give some shout outs here, and then we'll get to your questions. If you guys have a question, put at TEC or put at Travel Explore Click, and I will address those questions. Where are my, I think the super chats actually go away on my screen here. I don't know why that is. Let me see if I can't pull those back up. So I remember before they would stay, but it looks like, yeah, they go away. I don't know why they do that. Let's see here. Yeah, I do not see them anymore. Let's see. Okay, I think that might do it here. Ay, ay, ay. I do not see my super chats. I wanted to give you guys a shout out. I do not see them come up. If I can figure out how to do it while we're going through here, I'll give the shout outs. But thank you guys all for your super chats. I really appreciate it. I know there were some coming through, and I couldn't address them right away. So I appreciate the super chats. I'll make sure if I see any more, I'll go ahead and do them right away, or give the shout outs right away. But like I said, just put at TEC, and I will answer those questions for you. Why does this guy keep asking me what I eat for breakfast? Let's see. What's going on, Dale? Thank you for stopping by. Appreciate it. Appreciate you being in the room. You know what? I never changed the color here on my backdrop. I got all excited, and I don't see the colors you guys. I did see green. People were saying green earlier. And let's see. Let me go to the top chat here, so I can get everything. Yeah, I saw some greens. We're going to go with a different color, though, today. Let's see. I don't know what that color is. I think I did that color before. We'll do light blue. I haven't done this color. Is that baby blue or something? We'll go with that color. All right. He's saying no color, no color. Enrique's saying no color. All right. All right, guys, let me know. Sound off. Let me know what you guys think. And also, we do have a super chat. We do have a stimulus check group, so we can all go over there and vent. I will be getting in there later on tonight and just venting about this whole thing. I've kind of held off earlier, but I am going to get in there and talk a little bit because, yeah, man, this should not be happening the way it is. And I've always said, and let me say, I'm going to say this one more time. I know I did a video about this before he signed the executive order, but this is one of those situations where President Trump should have been in the room at least once. At least once. That's all I'm asking for. I mean, we had a situation where you have on the Democrat side, you have Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer. They're both elected by the people. On the other side, you have Stephen Mnuchin, you have Mark Meadows. They're not elected by the people. They're appointed by the president. You need to have some elected officials in that room negotiating. That is their job. That's their job. Mitch McConnell should have been in that room. And if things weren't going right, then you should have brought in President Trump just to see. Like, my whole thing is just sit down with him. You could sit down with her for an hour and know if it's going to go anywhere, or know if they're really serious about, especially if you are a master negotiator, if you know how to negotiate, which President Trump, that's what he claims, that he is the master negotiator. And the reason that you should elect him when he ran for office, the reason why you should elect him is because he knows how to get deals made. This is the big deal that he didn't get made. He didn't get the deal made. He just went the executive route. So, or the executive order route. So when it comes down to it, at least sit down once, find out where you're at, find out where they're at. And if you know that you can't push forward with anything, then go ahead with the executive order. Okay, I don't agree with the executive order, but at least you've given it a chance. There was no chance given by Mitch McConnell or by the president, and they're both elected officials. That's what I have a problem with. You're letting surrogates stand in for you and do the work when you were elected by the people to represent the people. So you should be doing that. Represent all the people. So that's my biggest gripe when it comes to this whole situation. You should at least give the people that. Give the people that, where you're going to step up, you're going to go in that room, and you're going to say, hey, where are we? Let me know what you want. I'm going to tell you what I want. We'll see if we can make it work. If we can't, then I'm going the executive order route. Because basically what happened is once he started talking about executive orders, Stephen Mnuchin and Mark Meadows, they really have they don't have to negotiate anymore. Because they're just going to go in the room and say, well, if you don't give us what we want, we're just going to do an executive order. So the negotiations stall at that point. So as soon as the president starts talking about, well, I'm just going to do an executive order, then it stalls. And the problem is, if this executive order gets held up it gets in the court system and now it's prolonged, well, that messes everything up. Because no stimulus checks, no enhanced unemployment, no payroll tax cut, which a lot of people don't want anyway, but no eviction moratorium. All this stuff is going to be on hold, and it could be on hold for months. And so that just means that we're going to continue to have problems until it gets resolved. And so you messed it up even more by doing this, because if it's something that can't be done, legally can't be done, then of course it's going to be held up. And so I think the Democrats, they were not expecting the president to just move forward with this, because they were like, there's no way he can do that. Why would he do that executive order? We've seen executive orders in the past, the Muslim ban and all this different stuff that gets held up in the court because it's not legal what he's doing. In the way that he's doing, it's not legal. So we could see that again. And that's just going to be bad for everybody. A lot worse than if we would have had some people step up to the plate and go in the room and negotiate. Do what you claim is your expertise and the reason why a lot of people elected you, to negotiate. Get in that room and negotiate. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If he would have gone in the room and negotiated and it didn't work, I would have been like, you know what? He gave it a shot. But he didn't. And Mitch McConnell never did. So it's like, like I said, I can go on and on about this, but it's one of those things where it just seems to me that they didn't even, and I'm talking about the elected officials. Elected officials did not even give it a chance on the Republican side. Now, yeah, I'm sure the Democrats were pushing back and saying, no, we're not going to do this and we're not going to do that and all that. But at least they were in the room. Okay, sure, they had a bill that had some pork in it, but at least they were in the room showing that they were fighting for the people. But if you're not even coming to the table, you're not fighting for the people. You're sending other people out there to do your job when that should not be happening. All right, let's see. So there should be a link coming through. It says Streamlabs or something like that, and it'll show you the link to our stimulus check group. So go ahead and click on that link. It's free. You could sign up, and we're going to be talking. There's a lot of talking going on right now, and we're going to continue talking about this. and we're gonna follow it. We're gonna follow it through and see where everything goes. Like I said, it's probably gonna get caught up in the court, so we're gonna have a lot more discussion to talk about. And one more thing too that I want to talk about. This is why you don't say things are confirmed when they have not been confirmed. Okay, we all thought that there would be a stimulus check, right? And we were all hoping, because we're hearing every side say that there's going to be a stimulus check. And some of us didn't say, that it was confirmed. Some of us said, yeah, you know what? It's on the table. It looks like it's going to happen. Some people were saying it's confirmed. We're getting $1,200. We're getting $3,400. We're getting all these different amounts confirmed. Nothing has been confirmed until it's approved by the Senate, it's approved by the House, and it's signed by the president. That's why I was saying that. And that's why it was upsetting to me when I see people putting that out there, because now you have people that are planning, oh, you know what? We're getting a stimulus check. It's been confirmed. The president confirmed it. The House confirmed it. The Senate confirmed it. Guess what? Now we're in a situation where we don't even know what they're going to do next, and if there's going to be a stimulus check involved. And right now, the Congress people don't really have any. There's no urgency anymore. So if they want to do it, they can. But if not, I mean, they can just kind of say, you know what? Yeah, we don't need it anymore. We need to wait a little longer. So that's why you do not say something's confirmed until it's actually signed. All right, let's see. So Alyssa's asking that same question. Will we get a stimulus check? So that's going to be up in the air. We're going to have to wait. And the real bad part about this now is I think that they're just going to go on break now. They're going to go on their recess. They're already kind of on their recess now, but there's no reason for them to come back at this point. And so that means it'll push it off until September before they start discussing again. I believe it's September 8th is when they'll come back in session, and then they'll have to discuss things, and we'll have to see if they want to go forward with another bill, because the HEALS Act now is not going to work, and the HEROES Act's not going to work because part of that has already been addressed with this executive order, and so now we're going to have to see. I think the right thing to do, if they do wait until September, and Nancy Pelosi might not wait until September, she might actually create another bill and just modify it and take out the stuff that's in the executive order. So, don't have that in there, but have the other stuff in there, like stimulus checks, like hazard pay, like stuff like that, and then try to pass that through the House and then send it over to the Senate and see what they do with it. So that could potentially happen. I don't see the Republicans pushing forward with another bill. I think that they're probably just going to wait it out and see if the Democrats want to move forward with anything, and if they do, then they'll address it at that time, or not address it like they did before. But we'll have to see. Let's see here. Let's see. R. Jennings is asking about. Let's see. How will payroll tax affect filing taxes next year? So you know what? This is all going to be. I want to see it on paper first, and then we can discuss more about how they're going to roll this out and how this is going to affect people. And I mean, you have the president out there talking about, like, if you elect me, if you elect me or re-elect me, I should say, then I'm going to just get rid of you won't owe anything. So, and then we'll make it permanent. And so there's so much that we need to know, and we don't know yet, because all we're hearing is the president talking and then signing off on this executive order. So we know it's something that's been signed off on, but we don't know the details yet. So once we find out the details, I will be putting out a video tomorrow, and I will be doing a live stream tomorrow. So check the live stream. It's going to be at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. There are a few interviews that Nancy Pelosi is going to be on an interview tomorrow. Larry Kudlow will be on an interview tomorrow. So we'll talk about both those interviews and any other information that comes out. But yeah, we'll have to see. I'm very interested to see what Nancy Pelosi and Larry Kudlow say about where to go from here, because obviously that's going to be the big issue. Like, how is this going to happen? They're going to ask Larry Kudlow, how is this going to be possible? How is this executive order going to happen? And then Nancy Pelosi, Are you going to do anything about the executive orders, and are you going to do anything about stimulus checks and stuff? So all this stuff is still going to have to be hashed out. But I think the current negotiations are done, and I say the negotiations that they're doing right now, yeah, that's done, and we're probably going to have to look at another bill in order to address some of these things. Okay, so Unite is asking, I think it's Unite, yeah. Why are Dems asking for prison reform in this bill? So, and this is the thing. I don't know if they asked for prison reform. I don't know. I don't know all the details about what was in the about prisons. I do know there was some language about prisons. But this is the thing, and this is what we get caught up on, and this is the problem with listening to politicians using their talking points, because any politician knows that if there's a bill that's presented in front of them, they can make alterations to that bill. So they could take things out that they don't want. So when the HEROES Act was approved by the House and sent over to the Senate, they could have tore that bill apart, took out everything they want. They could have made a HEALS Act out of the HEROES Act if they really wanted to. So when you hear politicians talk about, oh, well, this is dead on arrival because it has money for prison reform, or it has money for marijuana research, and it has money for this, and it has money for that, they could take those things out if they were really serious about it. But they're not serious about it. They just want to talk down about a bill because they don't want to have to address it. That's all that's going on. So when it comes down to it, and this is both sides, okay? So Democrats say the same thing. They're talking about the FBI building and all this stuff in the HEALS Act. They know they can negotiate that stuff out. That's a part of negotiating. You put things in there and you negotiate. That's how legislation works. And so to just say I'm not gonna do anything about this because it has something in there that I don't like is not an excuse. If it has something in there that you don't like, you sit down, you negotiate it out. And if it can't get negotiated out, then that's when, at least you've come to the table and you said, okay, this is, these are the things I like. Because if you look at the HEROES Act, there were things in the HEALS Act that were in the HEROES Act. So all this time, 2.5 months that we waited, they could have been addressing some of the things that they didn't like, and negotiating that, and not waiting till the last minute. So that's how I feel about that. Like, you do hear a lot of people, that's their excuse, like their reason. Earpiece keeps falling out. I don't even need this anymore. That's their reason why they go against the HEROES Act, or they say, well, the Democrats are just doing this, or Democrats are just doing this, or it's the Democrats' fault. You have to look at the bills. Like I said, you can take things out. You don't have to keep those things in there. And if you don't like it, take it out. Take it out, approve a bill in the Senate, send it back over to the House for revisions, and then they can approve it and send it over to the president. That's the way you do things. You don't just say, I'm not going to address it. All right, let's see. Because any bill that's out there is going to have pork in it. They all do it. We just saw the HEALS Act. Even after all this talk, I know I'm still on this. There's still people talking about it in the chat. So even though we saw all the pork in the HEROES Act, and you had the Republicans standing up saying this is crazy, why is this stuff in there? What do the Republicans do with the HEALS Act? They put stuff in there that shouldn't be in there. The FBI building, really? You put that in there? So, and they had other things in there too. It's like they all do it. This is not one of those things where it's like, oh, wow, how dare you? Because both sides do the same thing. And then they argue back and forth about, well, I'm not going to vote on it because it has this in it. Take it out. If we sat down, me and you sat down, and we were going to order a pizza, and you tell me, you know what, I want these 10 toppings on the pizza, and then I tell you that, and I don't want 5 of those toppings, do I just say, okay, that's fine, we're just not going to have pizza? No, I negotiated. I say, hey, well, you know what, I really can't eat this. I'm allergic to this, whatever. And you work it out. And then you order the pizza. You guys are both sitting there starving. You're just going to starve because because there's something on the pizza that you could get taken off. You're not going to negotiate it. You're just going to say, oh yeah, you know what? I'm not even going to address it. We're just going to starve. It makes no sense to me, and that's not that's that's just a reason to attack something that you didn't have any plan to vote on and to begin with. That's all it is. And like I said, both sides do it. Both sides do it. The first thing that we heard was, I mean, and what I found really interesting about about the HEALS Act is, and we keep talking about the FBI building, but I just found it interesting that Mitch McConnell didn't know, it's his bill, that he didn't know that the FBI money was in there. That's what I found interesting. Yeah, so as of right now, yeah, no check. No check as of right now. We'll see. It's definitely going to be pushed. I don't see, there's no urgency anymore. So I can't see it like being addressed anytime soon, unfortunately. So Dan is asking, so since Trump did an executive order, does that stop negotiations completely? I would think it's probably going to stop it. Like the Republicans have no incentive, and look at it this way. Who was negotiating? You have Mark Meadows and you have Stephen Mnuchin. Those were the guys that were negotiating. They're representing the White House. So and this is like I said, this is another reason why. So now that the president has the executive orders in place, do they really have any incentive to negotiate? Obviously, we still want stimulus checks. Does the president, does he still want stimulus checks? Or is he just resigned with what he has? He thinks that's enough and he doesn't want stimulus checks anymore. So the people who should be negotiating are the legislators. They're not. They're not doing that right now. Cakeology, what's going on, brother? Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the super chat, brother. Appreciate it. Pizza on me. You're not starving. Peace and love. So Cakeology, he has a channel. You guys want to check him out. He's got a channel on business credit. So if you're interested in starting a business, he can set you up. He does consultations and everything. And he gives really good information about getting a business going. I actually went or listened to him. He mentored me and got my business on track. So he does a real good job of that, and really down to earth, give you really good information on a level that you can understand. Like I don't understand the whole business aspect of things, but he can really lay it out for you. So Cakeology, you guys want to check him out. All right, let's see. Dolly, thank you for moderating. I really appreciate it. Always there to help out. I really appreciate that. Let's see. Okay. So Deidre, is it Deidre? I think it's Deidre. She's asking about the 15 or 20 senators that did not want any type of stimulus package. So she wants to know like the names. So we'll do more research on, I don't know the exact names. I do know there was an open letter. I don't think it was 15 or 20 Republicans in the open letter. We might not, some of them might be able to slip through the cracks because no vote was made, right? So this was just kind of the talk that there were 15 to 20 Republican senators that did not want another stimulus package. So what we'll have to do is I'll do some research on that. I can at least pull out some of them because they did an open letter. Some of them did an open letter. So there's some clear people that didn't want another stimulus check or stimulus package. And so we'll talk about them, and we're going to follow those races because I think it's important that, for us to follow the races and get the word out. Like some politicians are just not for helping the people at this time right now. Okay. And Unite. So Unite is he's just in here asking all these questions about, just like I said, Unite, when it comes down to it, if they don't like what's in the bill, they can take out what's in the bill. Okay. They don't have to keep that in there. That's an excuse for not addressing it at all. So when it comes down to it, And like I said, it's on both sides. They're both going to argue different points. Oh, well, why is this in there? Why is that in there? Take it out. Use your little pen. Just take it out. That's all you need to do. And then you can move forward with the things that you do agree on. David Foreman for president. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you. Oh, let's see. All right, guys, we'll move on down here. Oh, we got a couple more super chats. Why am I not getting these? Unite, what's going on? All right, Unite's giving me a super chat now. He wants me to answer this question. Can you tell us how you think this will impact the election? Good question. I don't know. You know what? It's too early to know. Yeah, I don't know. I am going to follow this story, definitely. The executive order's here, so now we're going to see how it plays out. If it does get tied up in the courts, we know that there's going to be a lot of back and forth. Well, and President Trump's already kind of put this out there as far as the Democrats, if they go against this, they just don't want to help the people and all this. So that's going to be the talking point, the argument. But ultimately, this is more about, our Constitution, and do we want to allow a president to have power like that, absolute power, where he can just unilaterally step on the legislators and just say, hey, I'm just going to pass my own things and fund them myself. Or he can't fund them himself, but I'm just going to pass my own things and see where they go. Do we want that to happen? So we'll see where it goes. But yeah, it's going to be ugly as far as how that fight goes back and forth. But I think ultimately, I don't know. I don't know right now. It's a good question, Unite. But we'll follow it. We'll follow through with it. Amber, what's going on, Amber? Thank you for the super chat. Let's see. She says, I'm in full devastation. This check child, hopefully. Yeah, so she's about the check. So she's in full devastation about the check, and that she hopes that they will pick up discussions in September. Yeah, and she says, I doubt it. You know what? I'm hoping that they do pick up. I'm hoping that something gets done before that a bill is presented before September. So during the recess, Nancy Pelosi puts something on the floor, brings people back in, they vote on it, and then they move it forward. I'm hoping that happens. And the only reason I keep saying Nancy Pelosi is because, look, you already have Republicans that are not for another stimulus package. So, and that's like a third of the Republicans are not for another stimulus package, the senators. So it's very unlikely to see another bill come from them because they're not really focused on wanting to have anything else happen. And so it looks like it's going to have to come from the Democrats again. So that's the only reason that I'm saying that. I wish the Republicans were on board for another stimulus package. I really do. I wish they were serious about it, but it doesn't look like that. And so we have to rely, if we want any more movement, we're going to have to rely on the Democrats to step up. We'll know some more tomorrow. So when I do my live stream tomorrow, at least we'll hear Nancy Pelosi, and maybe she'll give some clues on what she's going to do as far as going forward. All right, another super chat. Devin, what's going on? Thank you for the super chat. Let's see. I used to like Trump, but no more. All right. Yeah, so we'll see where this all goes. And I'm just hoping, this is one thing, and I do want to mention this. I'm hoping that the Trump administration has looked at the possibility of this all happening. And what I mean is, like, these executive orders that were signed, just the way that I saw the press conference, it didn't look very organized as far as he didn't know dates. He said August, maybe September. So it was kind of like he was just, saying stuff. So I'm hoping that they have something concrete, a concrete plan that will not get tied up in the courts for a long time. So if the court does get involved, it's something that can move through the courts fast. That way people can go ahead and get get their enhanced unemployment and things like that, the payroll tax cut, if that's what they want to do, have that, get enacted as soon as possible so people can start getting relief, people can start stimulating the economy. But if it's one of those things where it's just like there's dissension between the people who are trying to figure out what the executive orders they can do, and they don't have anything that's concrete, that's going to be a disaster. That's going to be a complete disaster because he's going to sign these executive orders and they go nowhere. They go absolutely nowhere. And now you have senators and people in the House that are on recess and they feel no urgency to come back. Like now they've been given some cover. The president gave them cover at this point because now they don't have to move forward with anything because they can say, up, we're waiting on the executive orders. Once we find out what's going on with the executive orders, then we'll move forward. That's what we don't want because no one gets anything. No stimulus checks, no nothing, no enhanced unemployment, nothing. Everything will be held up. So I'm just, that's one thing that I'm hoping. I'm hoping that the president and his administration have a clear plan on how to move forward with the executive orders. If there's no clear plan and he just came up and just kind of ad-libbed everything, and like I said, it just the way it was presented, not knowing dates and stuff like that, and not presenting dates. There was stuff that he didn't present. I'm looking at my notes here. There's stuff he didn't present dates on. So how are you saying the enhanced unemployment, you didn't give a date when it's going to start and when it's going to expire? That would be something that I would want to know, right? That people would want to know. So the fact that that stuff isn't in there is pretty troubling. Yeah, so we'll have to see. I'm hoping that there's something concrete. If not, then we're looking at an even worse situation than we were in before when they were just negotiating. At least when they're negotiating, there's still urgency. But now they have to wait. They're going to have to wait on these executive orders because you can't just move forward if you have to wait on the executive orders. All right, Andrea, what's going on? Thank you for the super chat. Let's see. Do you think since Trump was taking some heavy issues off the table, Congress will create the bill sooner? That could be a good strategy, right? Now that there's a lot of big things off the table, maybe Congress can just move through and get the stimulus checks out and get these other things out a lot faster. That's a very good possibility, but I still think they don't have any urge because, and just think, if we're going to start with the Senate now, the 50 to 20 senators that didn't want a stimulus package, they're upset already because now you have an executive order, so money's still going out that they don't want to go out, right? But they have no urgency to do anything. And then people like Mitch McConnell and some people that were kind of on the fence, they were okay with another stimulus package, but then, they wanted to do piecemeal. Well, they got their piecemeal. They got their enhanced unemployment, they got the eviction moratorium, and they got a couple of other things. So do they move forward with anything else? Not anytime soon, because the way they wanted to do it was that way. They wanted to do the piecemeal. So they wanted that first, and then they wanted to maybe September move into stimulus checks, and then maybe in October move into something else. So because there was no urgency, I think I think they're probably not going to be interested in moving forward right now. At least the Senate. Like I said, that we're not talking about the House. The House could do something else. They can move something else forward. But I think the Senate, they're just going to kind of be like, you know what? I think it's enough here. And we see how Mitch McConnell's handled this whole situation. He's kind of just been, there but not there, right? Not really moving forward and trying to negotiate or anything like that. So I don't really see him pushing for anything else. Yeah, that's the way I feel about it. LaQuisha, what's going on? Thank you for the super chat. Thank you very much. Now, I know I missed some super chats in here because I see this thing. I could see it on the side of my screen here popping up, and then it goes away. I don't know why it does that, and I can't find them. So, like I said, I apologize if I missed your super chat. I will. You know what? I can after this video. I think I can pull up all my super chats, and then I can tell you guys in the next video. Thank you. All right. Let's see here. Yeah, and trips, I guess you guys are just talking. Yeah, so the enhanced unemployment is $300. The federal government's paying $300, and then $100 is going to be coming from the state. Now, that's if your state can afford it. If your state can't afford it, then that extra $100 might not be coming. Let's see. So Unite, another question from Unite. He's asking, do you think Pelosi can pull some Republicans from to her side as far as negotiating? Yeah, I mean, we have to see what they're going to put on the table now as far as if they put anything on the table for negotiating. Everybody was for, not everybody, but you had people for stimulus checks. And so are they still going to be for stimulus checks? Or what I think was happening is some of the Republicans were for stimulus checks because they saw it as the package, right? So yeah, we'll be for stimulus checks. President Trump is for stimulus checks, so we'll add that to the package. But are they really passionate about getting that done? I don't know. I think the Democrats are probably more interested in stimulus checks than the Senate Republicans. So we'll see if they can pull anybody on their side. But like I said, I don't think everything has to be initiated by well, I shouldn't say that. The Senate has to initiate a bill if they want to do that or continue with the Hills Act. Which, like I said, now we're in a situation where a lot of those things that were in the Hills Act are being addressed. Some of the things that weren't in the Hills Act are still being addressed with this executive order. So they're going to have to create something else. That's going to have to be initiated by Mitch McConnell or Nancy Pelosi. Those are the only two people that can initiate something like that because they have the power as a leader to bring it to the floor for a vote. So we'll see where it goes. Michelle says Trump 2020. All right. Let's see. Yeah, and this is, like I said, this is a crazy situation because this is one of those things where I'm like, what? This couldn't happen. No, like you couldn't write it up like this. Like you would think, oh no, there's no way that we're gonna have an executive order that's gonna kill everything when it comes to stimulus checks and all this. Like I said, it was one of those deals where we were all thinking, yeah, stimulus checks, here they come. Like they're gonna be here. It's just a matter of getting everything else negotiated. But yeah, this was a big shocker for a lot of people. That's for sure. Alvin, thank you for the super chat, Alvin. Let's see. We appreciate the updates and your insight. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Appreciate the kind words. I appreciate your support. And yeah, that makes me feel good, man. Just I'm here trying to help. I enjoy talking about this stuff. I enjoy talking about politics too much sometimes. But you know, I really appreciate when you guys appreciate the fact that I'm doing this. It makes me feel good. All right. Let's see. Any other questions here? Let's move on down. And yeah, we're running the show a little bit longer today. I think there's a lot to talk about, so I don't want to cut it short. Make sure we get all the details in there. And like I said, we'll be on tomorrow, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we'll be talking because there are going to be a couple of interviews, key interviews tomorrow with Nancy Pelosi and Larry Kudlow. And that's just the two that I've seen so far, but I'm sure there's going to be some other people from the White House that are going to be talking because there's a lot of questions to be answered. And so people right now might think, oh, this is great, executive order, and then they might find out later that, oh, what? We're getting, like I said, payroll tax cut or payroll tax deferral or whatever they call it. We don't know the percentage yet. I know that they were talking about 7%. I did hear that from the White House, but I have not. We didn't hear that from the president today. So you have to, politicians, you have to watch what they say. There was one point when President Trump was talking about the payroll tax cut or the payroll tax deferral, and he mentioned about that he would terminate the he would terminate the tax, or not terminate, he would forgive the tax. He said that in one sentence, and then the next sentence he said, I may. terminate the tax and make it permanent. You have to watch those words because may and will are two different things. May gives you a huge out where you can just say, yeah, you know what? I said I was going to try to do it, but it's just not going to be possible. The Democrats aren't going to allow me to do it. That's that he could fall back on that. But you have to watch what they say, because if you go in thinking, oh, he's going to do this, and you vote for him and he gets elected or reelected, and then it doesn't happen, you're going to be like, well, what happened? He said he was going to do it. No, he said he was going to do it at first, and then he said, I may. And when he said he may, then he'll just come back and say, yeah, you know, I tried, but it didn't work. All right, we're going to move on down here. If you guys have any questions for me, just put at TEC or at Travel Explore click. And let me know what you guys think about the logo, the new logo here. Put a lot of work into that. So let me know if you like it, if you don't like it, if I should change it. Oh, wow, my phone is going off. Here we go. All right. And we'll get through this, guys. I mean, this is one of those things where we just need to all pay attention, and we all need to remember about this in November and hold your politicians accountable. Find out how they feel about certain issues. You can always contact them. I have a switchboard in the description. Check it out. You can call them. Ask them how they feel about certain things. And you'll at least get a response. You might not get a response directly from them, but you'll get a response from one of their aides trying to explain how they feel about certain things. But it's good to know. It's good to know because, you know, we're all you know, really engaged in this. And so I think politicians realize that, and it might be a situation where you never know what can happen in the future. And another thing that I've mentioned before when it comes down to it, and I'm not saying vote either way. I'm not saying vote for Trump or vote for Biden, but I am saying that just in the history, in the last 4 months, we have seen Democrats more on board for more stimulus checks. Okay, and I think we can all agree on that when it comes down to it. You don't have any Democrats that I've heard of saying no to another stimulus check. Most of the Democrats, or all the Democrats that I've heard, have said yes to a stimulus check. The only senators that I've heard say anything about stimulus checks is, you know, or saying anything, I won't even say it's a negative, but I have heard some Democrats say they want it more targeted. There was a couple of Democrats that said that a couple of months ago, but that's it. As far as stimulus checks, Democrats have been on board for stimulus checks. Some Republicans have been on board for stimulus checks. The president has said that he's on board for stimulus checks. He didn't put it in an executive order, but he said he's on board for stimulus checks. We'll have to see if he sticks with that. So come November time, depending on who the president is, let's say we don't see a stimulus check in this near future. So it's election time. We still haven't seen a stimulus check. There could be possibly a stimulus check depending on who's elected president, right? Now, the unfortunate part is if Trump does get reelected and he is for another round of stimulus checks, which we'll have to see, he could get the stimulus check done a little bit quicker than if Biden is elected, because Biden is not going to be actually, you know, go into office until January, the last week of January. So potentially Trump can get it to us faster if he's still for it. But then he has to get it through Congress. I mean, there's a whole bunch. Like, you're going to have Congress people that are not going to get reelected, and they're not going to care either way. And they're just going to say, you know what? I don't care. I'm not going to do anything, so I'm not voting for it. Or if Mitch McConnell, as the leader, doesn't get reelected, he might just not do anything. He just might sit there. I mean, you think he's not doing anything now. If he doesn't get reelected, he's going to be a lame duck for sure. Let's see. So Christina's asking about the payroll tax cut. Will it affect SSI and SSDI recipients? So to my understanding, it's Social Security as a whole. So the Social Security Administration gets funding from the payroll tax cut. Medicare gets funding from the payroll tax cut. So I think it would affect across the board. I'm not 100% sure on that. I know it does affect Social Security. But being that it's all under that same umbrella, it might affect SSI and SSDI as well. So it's not a good deal. Like there are a lot of politicians that were really, really against it. So the fact that he's putting it in there, yeah, it's going to raise a lot of eyebrows. And it's not just Democrats. You're going to have some Republicans that are going to be upset about it as well. Okay, some people say they like the they like the logo. Thank you very much. The logo is fire. T Monster. Thank you. Yeah, and I'm going to be making merch. So we're going to have mugs. This is my UNLV mug. I went to UNLV. So shout out to UNLV. But I'll be making some mugs too, and maybe doing some t-shirts and hoodies and stuff like that. I think it's a good logo to kind of wear. I don't know. Maybe I'm just going too far, but yeah, I don't know. I like it. All right, let's see. All right, so any other questions? Just go ahead and put it in the chat. So there's another question about SSI. Yeah, so I don't know exactly. I'll do some more research on that, and we'll see. But I believe it's all in that same. I mean, you could look at it this way: if the money is going to the Social Security Administration, well, then it's going to affect everything that falls under that umbrella. That's the way that I would see it. So, yeah, it's just not a good deal. Look here, Chuck Schumer. Pelosi went home to her mansion while the president gets the job done. Yeah, the president's at his golf course right now, but yeah, we'll have to see where this job. Like I said, we'll have to see where the executive order goes. I'm pulling for him. I'm pulling for him and hoping that this executive order was well thought out and that it will not run into many bumps in the road. Because if it doesn't, I'm telling you, it's going to be a complete disaster. A complete disaster. You're going to have things held up in court. You're going to have politicians, senators saying, oh, we're not going to do anything until this executive order has been resolved, and people are all going to suffer. Everybody's going to suffer. No stimulus checks, nothing. So I'm hoping it's well thought out. I'm thinking there's some problems with it if he's not knowing dates and things like that, and he's not giving detailed information. I'm thinking there's something going on that maybe he's just kind of winging it and saying, hey, this is it. This is what we're going to do. And then he goes to his aides and say, all right, you guys need to figure this out. I'm hoping that's not the case, but it has happened before. So we'll see. Because ultimately, the people are going to suffer. Regardless of what happens, the people are going to suffer in this situation and are suffering right now. Let's face it. All right. Saints asking, will they be meeting on Monday to talk about the stimulus? So we'll know more tomorrow. Nancy Pelosi will be on, and she will, I'm sure that question will be asked of her. Are they going to continue negotiating or what? The Democrats have, even to the last minute, they were saying, we want them to come back to the table and negotiate with us. But like I said, I think when President Trump started talking about the executive orders, that kind of gave Mark Meadows and Stephen Mnuchin. And this is, okay, I'm not in the room, right? This is pure speculation on my part. But I think Stephen Mnuchin really wanted a deal. And I think Mark Meadows could care less. I think he was kind of the one that was really pushing back. I think Stephen Mnuchin was in the room for the CARES Act. And I think he really could have worked out a deal. Some Republicans didn't like the fact that he was in the room because they said he was being too soft or too favorable to the Democrats. But I think Mark Meadows was the one that was a little more rough around the edges and kind of saying, hey, this isn't going to work, that isn't going to work. And like I said, it's okay for them to be in the room, but you needed to have the key players in the room, and you didn't. And so, in my mind, it wasn't a real negotiation. Like, if you don't have the key players there, you don't have a real negotiation. And just one more thing, too, that I want to talk about. The fact that this is the way that I feel about things, okay? Well, the way I feel about things is this. When it comes down to a situation where you're negotiating something, and if let's say I have someone negotiating on my behalf, so you're the president, you have someone negotiating on your behalf, or you're Mitch McConnell and you have someone negotiating on your behalf. So they both had Stephen Mnuchin and Mark Meadows negotiating on their behalf, right? Because they really should have been in the room. At least Mitch McConnell, he should have been in the room every time. And then if you have that, wouldn't you want to at least sit in on something just to see if they're doing the things that you're asking them to do? Because all it is a phone call. They're having a phone conversation. The president is talking to Mitch McConnell or to Stephen Mnuchin and Mark Meadows over the phone. Hey, how far did you get? Oh, we got this far. Okay. Or what do they want? Okay, they want this. How do you know they're even doing anything? They could be sitting in there just playing cards, or not even meeting, like off somewhere else, just saying that they're meeting. So as a person who's supervising this, overlooking this, as the president or as Mitch McConnell, overlooking your surrogates that are in there fighting for you, wouldn't you want to at least sit in the room once or twice just to figure out, hey, are they doing what I'm asking them to do? Because things aren't working. We knew the negotiations weren't going anywhere. So if the negotiations aren't going anywhere, wouldn't you want to know, okay, well, what's going on? Like, I want to be there. That's me. That's how I would handle a situation like that, especially if I'm putting things out there to people. I'm making promises. I'm telling people you're getting stimulus checks. I'm telling people you're getting your enhanced unemployment. It's going to be very generous, the stimulus checks. It's going to be larger than what the Democrats want. If those negotiations are failing, I want to be there because my reputation's on the line. I want to be in that room saying, hey, these are the things that I said I wanted. Okay. And a lot of those things the Democrats wanted anyway. Yes, the Democrats want stimulus checks. Yes, they want enhanced unemployment. So I would want to be in that room. And that's why it blows my mind to think that we're at a point right now with this executive order and none of them, the president and Mitch McConnell never stepped foot in a room to talk to the other side. That just blows my mind. Like that to me, that is the biggest sign of disrespect when it comes to the people, because you don't even think enough to step in that room and just talk. It didn't have to work. Like you could have came in the room and the negotiations, then you'd really know the negotiations are going to work. Okay, I'm moving forward with the executive order. So that just blows my mind. It really it really makes me upset because that's all I ask. Someone representing me, all I ask of you is to go in the room once. If things aren't going right, go in the room once and represent the people. That's all I ask. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Give it a chance. Ooh, let's see here. Dan is saying, so why are we paying these politicians if they aren't even in the room? Yeah, it's crazy. It really is. And yeah, I just it just blows my mind. All you need to do oh man. And you have the power. You're the president. You have the power. Even Mitch McConnell has the power as the majority leader in the Senate to call everyone into his office and say, this is what we want. Where are you guys? That's it. That's all you have to do, and go from there. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But at least you gave it a shot. I mean, if you don't ask for it, the answer's always no. It's like, man, and do you really know that Stephen Mnuchin and Mark Meadows has your interests at heart. And what I mean by that, as the president, do you really know that these guys are fighting as hard as they can for what you want? Do you know that? If you're not there, do you know it? You don't. Like I said, they could be they could not even be in the room. They could make an agreement with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and say, hey, yeah, we'll meet for 30 minutes and then we're just gonna go do our own thing. I mean, I don't know why Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer would agree to that, but I'm just saying, like, the fight should come from the people or the politicians who are elected by the people. That's where the fight should come from, not from surrogates. Okay. Lisa's saying, I vote they all wear body cams. That would be nice. This is one of the things too. Like, we never knew. We kind of got bits and pieces from both sides, and of course, the Democrats are going to play it up on their side, and the Republicans are going to play it up on their side and try to make themselves look good. So that's going to happen. We never really knew what they were discussing, like in depth, what they were discussing. And so it would be nice to have body cams, right? we see exactly the transaction or the discussion, I should say, but we never really knew. And that's another thing that is interesting because we didn't know what they were talking about. You had people saying they just need to negotiate and get this done and move forward. We didn't know what they were negotiating. So we could be saying they could be negotiating out stimulus checks, and you want a stimulus check, and you're saying they just need to get things done. One side saying, well, you're not going to get stimulus checks if you get this. And that other side's not agreeing on it. So we don't know what was going on. But that would be good. Body cams, I'm all for that. All right. Yeah, but one other thing too, before we go here, because we're going way over on time, and like I said, we'll be back on tomorrow, so we'll be talking about this for a while. Actually, we'll be on tomorrow, and I'll be on Monday night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard too, to talk about this even more. Monday we'll probably have some more information. Hopefully, we'll get information tomorrow, but we might have some stuff on paper either later tomorrow or Monday, as far as this executive order, because like I said, I'm very, very interested to see where the money's coming from and exactly the timelines and all that. All right. Dan saying, how about a TEC bobblehead? No, 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 no. Oh man. All right. All right, guys. So we're down at the bottom here. Thank you guys all for stopping by. We had a great show today. I really appreciate all your support, and we're gonna get through it. We'll get through this. I'm gonna keep you guys as informed as I possibly can with information. Like I said, I'm not gonna be giving you all the confirmed stuff that you're hearing on other channels because it's not about that. Like I said, people putting stuff out there about stimulus checks being confirmed. Now we know that it was never confirmed, right? Because there's a big possibility now that it could be postponed for a period of time. I still think politically during an election year, it's the right thing to do to be for stimulus checks. But will Congress push through another round of stimulus checks? That's where we're kind of hung up. So yeah, we'll have to we'll have to see where it goes from here. If you guys have any questions, any further questions in the comment section, just let us know in the comment section, and we'll be on tomorrow so I can answer those questions there. And that's all I have for you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.